Yeah, I'm just...
How was she? I mean, she said she didn't interact with them, but she saw them.
Yeah, she saw them, but she was just like... It was almost like too much excitement. Like, she'd never seen someone her age before. And she was just like really, really excited. I mean, that night she slept for the first time, so it was quite nice. But,
really?
Yeah, she just hasn't seen anyone else really.
I've got one friend who had a baby very, very, very early on in this, and I know that she's just worried, genuinely. I mean, like you, she's done the best job she can do in the circumstances, but to not socialise is just, it's just strange, isn't it? So strange.
He's worried, obviously, when they come to school age and then, you know, they haven't had that interaction to begin with where it's just playtime. Now, obviously, it's starting to ease up and following, if you're going to have a baby, it's probably the best time because they might forget it, but still, I would have liked that interaction with other children, definitely.
No, I hear you. That's a lovely point. That's a really lovely point. And a reminder as well of the kind of stuff that goes under the radar. If you're not living it, you're not going to be aware of it. A relatively frivolous example, although Eddie's financial situation is clearly pretty dire, would be the travelling fun fairs. It hadn't really crossed any of our mind that they've fallen off the radar completely. But unless you have a family member who's been born, or someone you're very, very close to who's had a baby in the last 18 months really, but 12 months in particular, you probably haven't registered what an astonishingly strange, for want of a better word, but what an astonishingly strange start to life that is, not just for the baby, but mostly of course for the baby, but also for mum and dad to not be able to absorb all the interest from other family members, not being able to socialise with other parents, compare notes face to face as opposed to online. And I'm no expert on these matters, but I'm fairly sure that for tiny babies, Zoom calls aren't much use at all. Thank you. I know it's only Monday, but I sense we all needed that. So let's hope that Boris Johnson brings a little bit more cautious cheer later today. If he doesn't, don't worry, because I know a woman who can. Here's Sheila Fogarty.
I'll do my best. Thank you very much, James. So there are some important things to remember today. At 3:30, Boris Johnson will address the Commons and outline his plan for getting us out of lockdown. We know a bit of it already. From March the 8th, all schools are due to open. This is England, by the way. All schools will open with outdoor after-school sports and activities allowed. Recreation in a public space like a park will be allowed between two people still, but they will be able to sit down for coffee, a picnic, a drink, rather than just keep walking. Later in March, just towards the end, 29th, outdoor gatherings of either 6 people or 2 households will be allowed. It's understood this will include gatherings in private gardens as well, and outdoor sports facilities, hooray, swimming, tennis, basketball, golf and the like will be allowed as well. There will be more. We'll bring it to you.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. From Global's newsroom at 1 o'clock, schools in England will be told to prepare to welcome back all pupils from the 8th of March. Boris Johnson's roadmap out of lockdown is also expected to set out plans to allow 2 people to sit outside from that date and large groups from March the 29th. Nana Haji has 3 young sons.
As much as they do enjoy their remote learning from home, they also miss seeing their teachers, they miss seeing their friends, and they just miss having that normalcy of being back in school.
It's expected that after the first wave, restrictions will progressively ease in 5-week intervals. Ellen Dickinson, chief executive of the British Retail Consortium, is hoping there'll be an update for her industry.
There's no doubt that with so-called non-essential shops being closed, that it's had a devastating effect on those businesses.
The COVID-19 vaccination programme is being linked to a substantial reduction in hospital admissions. A group of Scottish scientists found by the 4th week after the initial doses of the Pfizer and AstraZeneca jabs, the risk had been reduced by up to 85% and 94% respectively. Dr Josie Murray is from Public Health Scotland.
The brilliant news is that the vaccine delivery programme in its current format is suggesting that it's working. The other fantastic news is that we are potentially protecting our NHS hospitals
A terror suspect who cut off his electronic tag before taking a taxi to London has been jailed for more than 3 years. The man, who can only be identified as LF, is a senior leader of the banned extremist group Al-Muhajirun. Prince William says his grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh, is doing okay in hospital. Prince Philip has spent 6 nights at London's King Edward VII after being admitted as a precaution. William says they're keeping an eye on him. The funeral of Captain Sir Tom Moore will be held on Saturday. The fundraiser's family say they have no choice but to hold a small service. They're asking anyone who wants to honour him to plant a tree, sign an online condolence book, or donate to his foundation or a charity of their choice. In the city a short time ago, the FTSE 100 was trading down 41 points at 65.83. The pound buys $1.40 and €1.16. And the weather, rain spreading southeast with sunny spells following behind, although there may be showers in Scotland, a high of 12. From Global's newsroom, I'm Tim Humphrey.
Imagine if switching mobile networks was as easy as this.
Weather report, temperatures drop by 5 degrees, rapid
Now it is. Just send a text to your mobile network, then you're ready to leave and switch to Sky Mobile in an instant. Plans start from £6 a month with unlimited streaming on all Sky apps. Sky Mobile. Hello, possible.
For full terms and conditions, see sky.com/mobile switch.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Sheila Fogarty.
Hello there, good afternoon to you. Sometimes when I talk about what's coming up in the programme, as I did just 2-3 minutes ago, quite often actually, not just sometimes, quite often, what the subject is going to be. And I can see this call sitting here waiting. I'll get to you, Joseph, in Watford, I promise you. And I just think the simplicity of his message says a lot about where we are and says a lot about what we're going to find out today from the Prime Minister about starting anyway to normalise our lives slowly but surely, I think. Joseph says, I just want to meet my family again soon. And I know that an awful lot of you will be feeling like that. And it is, of course, at its heart about our families if we haven't been able to be with them. For some it'll be seeing anyone but your family, I imagine, someone other than your family, when you're able to socialise a bit more at the end of March and then more as time goes on. But we're going to find out today some of the detail of what the Prime Minister's roadmap out of this situation that we find ourselves in will be. All schools in England are to reopen on March the 8th. That's really, I suppose, the headline there. And that's been expected for some time, hasn't it, that announcement? That was the date that Boris Johnson said he was aiming to get schools back. Now, 2 important times. At 3:30, the Prime Minister will tell MPs in the Commons, and we'll obviously hear it as well, so he'll tell us at the time as he's in the Commons what the plan is and what it will be based on. And at 7 o'clock this evening, so when Ian Dale is on air, at 7 o'clock this evening, there will be a full press conference as well, which we will bring live to you here at LBC. In the meantime, we're going to talk about not just families, but your working life as well, your businesses, the sectors that you work in, the sector that your business is in, the things you do beyond family and beyond school, whether that's sports, travel, whatever it is. We'll start to get a sense of what will in this announcement. I imagine the Commons announcement will, it will give us a bit more, but not much more than we already know, would be my guess. And then the detail will come in that press conference. And then after or at around the time of the press conference or after the announcement, the government tends to put more detail up online as well at gov.uk. So we will get you all of that detail as it comes, and we'll talk between now and then about what to expect. I want your thoughts, your calls on 0345 6060 973. What are you waiting for? What are you wanting? What do you need from the Prime Minister? And, we'll start to get a sense of whether you're going to get it yet. You'll get it eventually, but will you get it today? 84850, the number to text. You can tweet at LBC. Theo's here, Theo Washwood, LBC's political editor. Maybe start with what we know, Theo.
Let's start with what we know, Sheila, and we will go with, and then I'll move on to what we don't know, and we'll try and fill in the blanks. From March the 8th, schools are going to reopen, and that also includes allowing children to take part in after-school sports activities as well. And there's a huge emphasis now from the government on trying to get people active outdoors. To that end, it is also going to be possible to have a one-to-one meeting with somebody outside of your household and to share, and it needs to be outdoors, and social distancing rules need to be applied, where you can have a cup of coffee or a picnic with one other person, and that will kick in from March the 8th. And then on March 29th, we are going to see the rule of 6 brought in for outdoor gatherings, again in the park, public spaces, and we're also going to see organised adult and child sport allowed, and of course that's designed to coincide with the summer, with the Easter holidays, I should say. Nadeem Zahawi was on LBC this morning, and he was at pains to make it clear that we are not going into a tiered system with different rules for different parts of England. This is going to be a process where England comes out of lockdown as a country.
Because the way this new variant actually took hold, which has become the dominant variant, the Kent variant, in the United Kingdom, infection rates around the country have pretty much, there are some pockets, but pretty much rose to sort of similar, very high, unsustainable levels. So the view is very much that this is about a gradual reopening of the whole of England, not regional, but it's absolutely following, as I said, children first. They're the priority, schools. 2 people being able to one-on-one meet outdoors and maybe have a coffee together. That's also on the 8th of March. Then the 29th, 2 family, or rule of 6, and of course outdoor sports.
Keir Starmer was also on LBC this morning taking calls from our listeners, and he said that he supported the reopening of schools. Ideally, that was his caveat, because of course he is under pressure from the teaching unions, many of whom fearful that if every pupil goes back into the classroom on March the 8th, then